And welcome back to Jeff Kanange live here with arguably the best political tag team in town. That's what I'm talking about. Dr. PLO Lumumba, Dr. Barrack Muluka, here to talk about the impeachment going forward. We talked about this earlier on, and possible replacements, gentlemen. Possible. I mean, we've been talking about this. I think you were the one who mentioned that Kithure Kindiki was the first choice in the beginning. Yes. And I know people who were in the room when that happened, and they confirmed that he was the first choice.
I have seen His Excellency the President on film, on video, official, media house, saying that others wanted Kindiki. In fact, the majority wanted Kindiki, but for some reasons which he does not disclose, he preferred Riggy G. And I think Riggy G was of the essence only to the extent that he was going to help to cross the bridge. These things were written in their political stars, their self-fashioned political stars, even as they were going out to campaign. And people like now CS Ali Hassan Joe, who are saying things like after 2 years he's going to get rid of Rigathi Gachagua. They were not just speculating, they were speaking on the strength of things that had filtered through from the innermost sanctums of the Ruto deputy presidential kitchen cabinet. And that time has come. The political formation must change. But apart from the political formations changing, as I was saying earlier on, it's about consolidation of power. That there must be only one center of power, and which I think is not a bad thing. But that power must also be exercised responsibly. Power in my country is abused, because I saw an interview on television, 3 senior editors from Citizen TV, from the Standard Group, from NTV, asking His Excellency the President about the Tonton Makutes that Professor is talking about in hoods, who are abducting us, who are disappearing us. And His Excellency the President rubbished it. And he said, depending on who you are and the offense you have committed, there are going to be different ways of arresting you. That is the Gestapo that is in charge of the disappearing of people. So that kind of consolidation of power is bad. It's the power that brings to the center stage the reign of terror. Yeah. And that is bad. And those MPs, professors' cows, and they are not his, because they said that of themselves, and it's in the Hansard. It was not expunged. It's absolutely in the Hansard that they have said they are cows and they are herded. They must know that after they are done with Gachagua, there will be someone else and another one and another one. And in the end, there will be nobody to speak for them. So for the time being, Kithure Kindiki, who is in charge of the interior, and who has said nothing about the hooded men who are disappearing our children, may become the deputy president. And I don't know whether the Gestapo will continue to be there or not. And I don't know whether he will be deputy president and minister for interior. But it's a point of detail. His name is there. We have heard of Dindi Nyoro. We have heard of Imani Shungwa. We have heard of Anne Waiguru. And we have heard of
Musalia?
Yes, some Luya people have been telling me, Barrack, you are a very bad person and even a very foolish person.
You're spoiling for a man.
And even for yourself. And Gladys Wanga. So one of the things, again, that you are likely to see is another night of long knives after Gachagua is removed, if he should be removed. then the fight goes back into the house. It becomes inward looking.
Yeah.
Everyone stepping on everyone else's toes and saying, I'm the right. And even now, the jostling is going on.
And PLO, it boils down to what you hate the most. That's tribalism.
Absolutely. You know, I urge, Koigi Wamwere has written a book towards genocide in Kenya, the curse of negative ethnicity. And it pains me to no end when the politics of a country and the conduct of the affairs of a country is reduced to ethnicity, that competence has no role, that we are thinking that this is, and they're already talking about it, because he's from the Gema community, it must go to the Gema community. From the Luo, they say, now that we are in government, it must be one of us. From the Luhia, I mean, it is tragic that a country in the 21st century is talking about the holding of national office as one that must be defined by ethnic extraction rather than by competence. And I think that is tragic. And one day, if this country is not careful, it may lead us into a place where we will take generations to recover from. Yeah. I thought that we had liberated ourselves. And indeed, when we were making the Constitution in the early 2000s, we were saying that we were going to make a Constitution that will look at things. And I remember at that time, Ali Mazrui delivered a paper that if Kenyan politics is ethnic prone, can we have a Constitution that is ethnic proof? And his thesis at that time was that we create an environment, a political environment that enables people to thrive, and they don't look at ethnic extraction. And I've said it before in a manner that perhaps is hyperbolic, but telling in that when you want your country to be run and the president is the pilot, when you are boarding a plane, you don't ask the tribe of the pilot, you just want a damn good pilot. When you want somebody who is doing things, you just, as I think it's Deng Xiaoping who said it, famously said, that when you want to have the rat caught, you don't care whether the cat is black or white, you just want a cat that catches the rat. And that is what this country needs. And if we don't liberate ourselves from the chains of primordial ethnic instincts, and we use that as the basis of decision making, then this country will never realize its potential.
Barrack, it's so sad, 60 plus years after independence, and you know, coming up is Mashujaa Day again. We're still in the same rut. We're stuck in the same rut. What went wrong? When did the rain start beating?
The challenge was congenital. We were born with that challenge as a nation, and we have never sorted it out. And the big irony of the situation is that we are speaking of a National Assembly that passes a motion of impeachment. And the one thing which they have harped upon is this thing of tribalism, is this thing of Murima. That was the one thing which they kept hammering home and splitting hairs about. But the self-same fraternity has begun internal wars of attrition that it must come to our tribe. Even in Mount Kenya itself, they're saying it must come back here. Those who are of that persuasion that the DP should be impeached. And within the mountain, there are those who are saying it should come to the east. The Meru, the Chuka, the Tharaka, the Embu. They're saying it should come to the east. But the West is saying, this is ours, it should come back here. And the Abaluya are saying, no. Son of Moses has waited for a long time. There's a chap who wrote the other day, rather hyperbolic, saying Barrack and the PLO should have been born in the United States of America. I don't know whether he meant that as a compliment in good faith or as a backhand.
Or saying these are naive individuals.
That the person we want to take this office is our tribesman. And the Luo are saying we are now in government, we are back in government. And let me tell you, I've heard the name of Gladys Wanga, and believe you me, and I don't know whether it is true or not, but I've heard, again, from my political friends within Parliament itself. Those ones are not cows, the ones who are my friends. I've heard that some even think that Baba could become the deputy president. Yeah? Baba could become the deputy president. So I don't know. There's going to be another night.
Never say never.
Another night of long knives.
It comes down to what PLO was saying earlier on. The Pentagon is coming back, or is back. 2007.
And remember, in my letter, I say that Mr. Odinga is now the eminence grise, which means that he wields informal power in this administration. He doesn't have to shout about it, but he surreptitiously pulls certain strings which deliver. So never say never.
The kingmaker.
Never say never.
Good Lord.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the other thing is, shouldn't the president have been more, diplomatic, for lack of a better word? Because what happened to him under President Uhuru Kenyatta is exactly what's happening to his deputy under him. And he doesn't seem to really care much.
But Jeff, the president is on record assuming that the internet doesn't lie and that the records which are in your archives saying is that when I assume the office of the president, I will never allow my deputy to be subjected to the humiliation that I was subjected to. But I now know in Kenyan politics, memories are short and selective.
I call it the warthog mentality. When a warthog is being chased by a lion, it can run fast for like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and then it forgets why it's running. That's us.
The question is, we are not the only country in the world that has got presidents and deputy presidents, presidents and vice presidents, prime ministers and deputy prime ministers. We never hear of these kinds of altercations and imbroglio from other parts of the world. It seems to be a very uniquely Kenyan thing. And again, as they were making the Constitution, writing the initial Bomas draft and the subsequent drafts, one of the things that we thought we wanted to do was to secure the position of deputy president, and which is very important, particularly for purposes of consideration of succession issues in the event of all those things that have been contemplated in the succession of the president. We secured that office, and having secured it, something is wrong. That something that is wrong cannot be something within formal government. It is something in the informal spaces, in the informal landscapes, where people are going into government to do business with the government. When you hear Adani, Adani may have an Asian face, but Adani is a Kenyan. Adani sits somewhere in powerful places in this country. Otherwise, Adani would have run away by now. We say of the burglar that he comes, he breaks the window, he tries to come in, and he doesn't manage. You see him before he breaks through the window. He runs away. But who is this Adani who cannot run away? We are telling him, Adani, we have seen you. And then we are seeing justification from high places on X platform, on Facebook. So there are those quarrels, those altercations within those spaces. And it is the wrong philosophy of government, wrong philosophy of why people get into power, that we get into power so that it is our turn to eat, and to eat illegitimately. And this parliament here, which has no moral high ground from which it can and should impeach anyone. This parliament here, a couple of months ago, was vetting cabinet secretaries. It was vetting individuals who told us that they had 100 million shillings. 2 years ago, they have come back. They're saying they now have 600 million. They have 800 million. This parliament has not taken the trouble to interrogate how those funds have multiplied so suddenly. They have not interrogated these people to ask them how much tax they have paid since they accumulated this extra 800 million. So the deputy president and the president come together as candidates seeking to be elected. They agree on games of numbers, and they agree how they are going to share government, and they see that they are not quite getting there. Then they look for Moses Wetangula, they look for Musalia Mudavadi, they tell them that you will get 30%. And that 30%, we don't know how it defines itself eventually when we get into definitive landscapes. But then they say, mzee na vile hii kitu sasa ilikuwa yetu, hiyo imebaki tutagawana nusu kwa nusu. Then when you get properly ensconced in the comforts of power and state house, you start wondering about this thing which mzee here once, Uhuru Kenyatta told us, it's a relay. Why can't he let me finish running? I will pass the baton to him at a later time. So that's where the challenge rests. And then now we find them saying, oh, tribalism, oh, whatnot. We are a tribal country.
Nation.
A tribal nation. And without at all tribal relative to bargain for you.
And we're between a rock and a hard place, aren't we, PLO?
We are between the rock and the hard place. And the tragedy is those in positions of authority don't appear to recognize that unfortunate reality. And if they recognize it, they don't appear to care, because we are eating into the very foundations. Look at this motion that has been put into Parliament, which is designed to have us amend the Constitution to extend the life of the president and the deputy president.
Term limit.
I believe that that individual has floated a test balloon. And that balloon is designed to gauge the temperature, to take the pulse of the nation. And it is going on. Of course, the views have been, many Kenyans may not know, but they have invited people's views to be submitted on or before the 25th day of October. And if we are not careful, that will happen. In other words, we are doing things that are not in the best interest of the nation, and we appear not to care. And when you see that on a matter as mundane as the proposed impeachment of the deputy president, there is almost 100% attendance in Parliament, and when you see for the first time in the first 2 years, the Speaker of the Senate telling the senators, don't leave jurisdiction.
And which is an illegal
don't leave jurisdiction because there is serious business to be transacted. We have had young people dying. There was no such statement from the Senate. We have had, as I said a little earlier, our economy going into comatose. We have had trouble, but Parliament, to me, National Assembly and Senate have never been so enthusiastic, so committed. But this time round, they are committed. We are between the Scylla and the Charybdis, the rock and the hard place. We are in a hole. We must stop digging. We are arrogant and champing our chests orgiastically. We must embrace humility in the knowledge that if we are not careful, we will be leading this country in a direction and in a place which will visit pain on all of us. And on this matter, those in positions of leadership must be reminded without fear of consequence that this country is for all of us. They merely hold positions of trust for the moment, and that history is replete with individuals who thought that they held both the yam and the knife, and that they could deal with the knife and the yam as they willed. They must think again and think, because this country is not theirs to abuse as they want. It is ours to protect, and to protect jealously.
Absolutely. Jealously is the word. By the way, can you say that word in Latin again, between a rock and a hard place?
Sila and Charybdis.
Yulanzala, did you get that? Sila and Charybdis, did you get that? Wow. Let's take a quick break. It's about a 1-minute break. Come back and we'll go to the magic wall. Your responses, your reactions, your questions, your comments coming up with arguably the best political tag team in town. That's what I'm talking about. Dr. PLO Lumumba, Dr. Barrack Muluka, calling it like they see it without fear or favor. Oh. Professor, doctor, what's the difference?
No. This man is a professor.
Is that higher?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. That's higher.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. No. Professor. Oh, shh.
And he has written about 20 books.
And authored a constitution.
Yes.
And birthed the constitution.
Oh, don't joke.
Good Lord.
I know people.
You know?